Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very accomplished professional from North Carolina, USA, Mr. Wade Younger. Wade, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Wade is the Chief Executive Officer of Value Wave. He's an author, and all of you know I'm very partial to authors. He's an author of several books, and his latest book, which is coming out soon, is Think About What You Think About, and we'll talk about his book. Wade has also been recognized as one of the foremost authorities on organizational development and process improvement. So, Wade, before we start talking about OD, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So my background started in technology. I came out of college with a computer science degree. And then after that, I was a developer for a while and then went into networking. And then from there, strategic planning. I ended up starting a company called Fruition Consulting back in 1990. And had that company for 16 years, built it from just myself. And had about 200 resources working with me in 10 different cities here in the States. And that was great. And then the company sold in 2006, 2007, which was great timing because I didn't know the economic downturn in 2007. Right. So I was only 42 at the time. So I got a chance to reset and think about what am I going to do next. And so I got into speaking and writing books on leadership development, workplace morale, how to handle change, things that I saw, because when it came to technology projects, one of the things that I saw was the fact that we were always able to find a technology or technological solution to a customer issue. But one of the things that was the draw is like, how do we handle the people? You know, how do we handle teams, things of that nature? So that's how I got into OD. And then 2010, I started the Value Wave, and it was more of a boutique approach to working with mid-cap companies in regards to the same thing, going from, because a lot of companies, they go into business in the first 5 years, they go from red to black to red, and then they're done. So kind of help that process. So that's me. So now I'm more into not just organizational development, but more in technology as well, marrying those two together, and how individuals can be the best they can be as far as embracing these challenges, as far as being relevant moving forward.
Wow. So let's talk organizational development, process improvement. What are some common challenges organizations face when it comes to developing efficient processes?
First of all, everything starts with leadership. With companies of 3 or 10 or 35,000, it starts with leadership. So everybody is, I say everyone, community at large. They're interested in being first, best, different, faster, cheaper, better. You want to actually help customers save time, save money, make money, relieve stress, make things easier, and deliver products and services that delight customers. But in order to do that for the customer, you have to look inwardly and say, how can I do better? So the challenges I find are, first of all, leadership and leadership support. If you have good leadership support in regards to looking for better ways and I don't even like the expression business as usual. Things change so much. I think that should be thrown out the window. There's no ever business as usual. And those are the companies that are going down.
Right.
After that, I think you have to be really adroit in regards to change, change and change management. And the one thing that I found is when a change takes place, obviously, if we invoke it, we want to make a change or move, that's fine. But when it's imposed on us, that's where the challenge is. So people come to work with their own insecurities, their own foibles, their own agendas, and you're asking them to do something different. The resistance is it's natural. It's natural. It really is. So instead of using a hammer technique, it's just show the benefit of it, having that continuous dialogue on we're better off, no one worse off if we do it this way versus that way. And lastly, has to do with communication skill sets. Right. The ability to go top down. This is what's taking place. And this what support do you need to make this move forward? Because we're all in the same boat. So in my estimation, those are the most
Yeah, no,
potent things.
what a great response. Thank you.
Yeah.
My next question is that how do organizations determine what are the areas that require improvement and when to call someone like you in?
Identifying pain points is a skill set, which means we have to be able to look at eternal economy. And look, I look at it this way. We all drive cars of one sort or another, even get in a car. When we get in the car, one of the things that we check every time is the gas gauge immediately. It's like, wait, where am I? And the gas gauge within organizations are revenue, morale, customer satisfaction, and then productivity. Because the two things you're doing as far as identifying pain points is you want to always increase productivity and revenue, and at the same time decrease cost and waste.
Correct.
If you're looking at those key performance indicators or KPIs, those will give you your answers. But here's the thing: you have to believe it. You have to believe it, because if you're making money, you don't care about your morale. That's a false economy. Correct. And that company will tank after way, and then take it on as in just take it as fact, and then make the adjustments there. So identifying those KPIs, and also OKRs, those objectives, as well as what do you want out of your organization? What is why are you in business in the first place? Because it's all about making a difference and solving problems.
Very interesting. But Wade, most of us like status quo, maybe status quo ante. How do you get people to change, and how can these changes in process improvement be sustainable?
Another great question. So as humans, we all are looking for homeostasis. We always want to be in a place where I'm fine and everything is good. I don't want to change. And that's, again, natural, because even our bodies are indicating to us we want to be at a good temperature and things of that nature. We don't want to be hungry or thirsty. So we satisfy those. So how do we make that change is this. When it comes to metacognition, thinking about what you think about, where thoughts, become our choices, and choices drive our decisions. Those decisions create behavior. Those behaviors will create those experiences. Our experiences create emotions, and it's new emotions that create a new thought. Those are the things that I key on as far as those individual behaviors within individual organizations, because organizations are made up of what? People. So we can look at everybody as, holistically one, but we're not one. We're one fits all. No, one fits one. So I take it from a metacognition perspective. Even when it comes to behavior individually, we're all triggered for a particular reward, and that reward drives us to a particular pattern, and then we have results there. So if we're taking it again from an organizational perspective, where this is the thought, what is the new thought? How do you articulate it, and what's the instructions as far as to do next? That will start the cycle of metacognition.
Amazing, thank you. And you were telling me you are an engineer and you've been involved in technology. What role does technology play in enhancing process efficiency and organizational development?
It plays a huge role. If you can imagine, a company without the internet, they decide we're not going to use the internet. Obviously it's been around since the early 1990s, even before then, but as far as just consumer use, and we're just going to go about it as far as just using traditional mail. We'll pick up the phone and call, things of nature. That company will not be in business. So obviously businesses need technology very much. Because of the way things are when it comes to AI, you're going to have two different types of companies. Companies that utilize AI, and then those who are out of business. It's just that way. Right. And the key to technology is since everyone has access to tech, it's a matter of what problem will you solve, and what are you passionate about, and what data do you have that makes you unique. Because if everyone has the same thing, what's the differentiator? Because that's what we want to be, different enough where we're attracting different customers. So embracing technology, as far as new evolving technology, emerging technology, is super important. which
Mm.
also calls to mind, we have to get our, not just our customer base, but our employment base, our resource base to understand, embrace the new, be
Correct.
relevant, and
Correct.
be a lifetime learner. And those kinds of things help the company move forward. That's what we are.
Amazing. And you were also telling me that, you work with medium-sized organizations. My question is, how can medium-sized organizations with limited resources benefit from process improvement initiatives?
But one of the things that I find in working with mid-sized companies that don't have the big budget as the big five or the Fortune 5,
Yeah.
Fortune 10s, is the fact that you look at where you are as far as what problems you want to solve, what goals do you want to accomplish, and then the time frame of that.
Right.
So you have to align your resource growth scalability to your goals. If you're doing that on a consistent basis, you'll find that you stay in the black versus overextending yourself. And I've worked with companies like that. In fact, I spent a few years with a technology company that we specialize in blockchain, AI, and VR, and things were moving along very nicely. But we had so much immediate success because of these methodologies that I was the CEO, but other leadership said, let's go faster, let's scale bigger. And as a result, things started to go downhill. So in the world of now, patience is very important. Urgent patience is very important. And again, as far as technology is concerned and resources that are limited, one of the things that I found, generative AI has become so readily available.
Correct.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, obviously since last November, and there's so much things you can do being a prompt engineer in regards to solving problems and again, it's about identifying what is your contribution. And once you identify your contribution, you can use readily available technology. You don't have to go big tech. You really don't have to have your customers. The illustration that I use for that is, let's say if you had 10 athletes and those 10 athletes line up to run a 100-meter dash, and they all have the same physical abilities. They're all built the same, and they're running on the same day, same track conditions, same weather. Who wins the race? And the answer is, it's not about the externals that you see, but it's the internals. It's the drive, it's the coaching, it's the ability to handle adversity if you are behind, things of that nature. Fast forward and use that as far as companies are concerned. If you have companies that are like yours, because the question is, why should someone do business with you versus your competition?
Correct.
It all comes down to your drive, problems that you're solving, and how smart you are as far as dealing with your people. Because that's another piece in regards to process improvement, organizational development, change management. How can you get your people to perform beyond the norm? It's very doable with great leadership.
Well said. Can you also share with me some best practices for creating a culture of continuous improvement within an organization?
Absolutely. So this is the things that I see. It starts with great vision, and the vision attracts good talent, but you have to stay true to your vision in regards to what you want to accomplish. We see companies today, Eastern Airlines in the United States. I think about companies like Binnigan's and just so many that just existed, thrived, made millions of dollars, and then they don't, because they don't have the ability to change based on changing environments.
Right.
So keeping your vision and focus is great. The second thing is, as far as best practice, even though it sounds like a soft skill, is integrity. Integrity is very important in regards to dealing with your customers, dealing with your employees, dealing with your processes. It goes a long, long way. It may seem like at first you will lose, but you will win every time, keeping and having good integrity. The other thing I find is best practice is, again, back to the communications, communication skill sets and the communication planning within the organization, because we're all in this, whether it's a speedboat or a sailboat, you're going to have to deal with the sail.
Correct.
So in order to do that, having those communications move forward is important. Because here's the thing, as companies have challenges, one of the things that we have to recognize that it's not going to all be, we have, sunny day and happy paths, but it's not going to be that way. So having eternal economies, and when I talk about internal economy, it's like this. Every department within a company is an organization. So you may have IBM or Microsoft or Apple, but inside of that, you have accounting, you have marketing, you have sales, you have customer care. But if each of those areas are looking at themselves as an independent entity, where this is my customer and this is my supply chain, vertical integration, you are leading your areas even better. So those are the things that I find in regards to best practices overall. Lastly, as far as institutionalizing change. Once you make the change, you don't go back on it. You might have to adjust, but if you find that this is a better way, stick to the way until otherwise tell you not to. Those are the things that I recognize as best practice.
And Wade, are there any ethical considerations organizations should be mindful of when making process changes?
Yes. When it comes to ethics, there's a couple of things that comes to mind immediately. I think about biases that people will look at in regards to being fairness, where it comes to, everything from, are you in a place where you're helping the disabled do their job efficiently? Does your skill sets and does the parameters of your systems and processes, is it equally funded and have everyone have an opportunity to contribute, which calls into play diversity and inclusion, things of that nature. So absolutely. Another thing that's really big at this point is privacy. Is customer data at a point where, as we are making changes and moving forward, is our customer data in a place where it's safe? And then lastly, the thing that I think about is using transparency, having a black box approach to things. And that's one of the things about AI, the black box, we don't know. But those are the things you want to keep in mind as we're making those changes, making those improvements. Those are the areas that I feel like are important.
Fascinating. And what, in your view, are some of the emerging trends or technologies that you believe will significantly impact organizational development?
First and foremost, I think artificial intelligence is number one. As I mentioned, you'll have companies that will use it and those who will be out of business. And AI, time will just elapse if you talk about all the applications, but with AI, you can do so much with it. I encourage people to embrace it, to learn from it, learn the tools. And it is just a tool. Here's another thing. It's just a tool. It's not here to replace jobs. What you want to do is take individuals and teach them to use the tool. So we want to keep them, because one of the things AI will never be is a living, feeling human. It can't provide that. It doesn't, it can't track drive or loyalty, so using that. So that's number one, is embracing that technology. Another area that I recognize is, because we are in a just distrustful world where zero trust, it's a technology, zero trust, ZTA, is something. So security, cybersecurity is very important, because whether it's our transactions or others, you always have to be able to secure your data. So AI, and then security is a fast second. And then third is just understanding data availability. And this is me being the techie here. We're in a beautiful place, and this is why AI has blown up. It's because we have so much labeled data that we can just have access to. We have access to 40 years of the internet to ask questions. So having secured your data and data management is those things that will help you move forward. Whether you want to scale out a car that's going to be, a company that washes cars, to some genome organization that looks at cells of the body.
Yeah, fascinating. And you spoke about the 40 years of the internet. I actually spoke to someone a few days ago, who is a full professor in one of the big universities in the US, and his whole thing is the history of the internet. And
Wow.
I didn't realize there is so much work to be done there. But
Absolutely.
moving on, I'd
Absolutely.
like to now move to your books, Wade. You know, you're an author of several books, and your forthcoming book is Think About What You Think About. Tell me
Mhm.
about your books, and then tell me about the hypothesis for your latest book.
Absolutely. So I started writing in 1995. And it's interesting how it even started. I was keeping a gratitude journal
Mhm.
and just trying to feel appreciative about life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I started to just write, and I felt like at the time I just felt very drawn to writing, and just it felt like an intrepid drive to write. And that's where it started. And then my first book was called Change Challenge.
Mhm.
No, it's called Tunnels, Bridges, and Ladders. Tunnels, Bridges, and Ladders: How to Deal with Change. And it was just my perspective on, embracing change. And it was okay. It was okay. And I never had a major publisher. And then I ended up writing a book on my childhood. It was called Moon Cussers.
Mhm.
And so that really just got the blood flowing in regards to that. And then the notable books that drives my speaking career are Fluorescent Leadership: How to Lead from Within. And
Mhm.
because I recognize we all have leadership attributes,
Mhm.
but it's just a matter of where you are. We
Yeah.
don't have to be the president of an organization to lead.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have, moms and dads that do a beautiful heroic job in that regard. So
Yeah.
it's about that. And then my favorite book of all of my books is The Jericho Rose:
Mhm.
What to Do When You Feel Like You Ruin Your Life. And the
Mhm.
Jericho Rose, it's also called the Resurrection Plant. And the little story there, if you look that up. So the Jericho Rose is a plant that completely dies with
Mhm.
no moisture. It could turns into tumbleweed, but when it hits moisture of any form, it will completely resurrect itself, replant itself in a matter of minutes to hours. And it's
Mhm.
amazing to me that creation, our creator has created, give us that illustration to show that if you find yourself where
Mhm.
you're dead and you don't feel like you're relevant anymore, you just need some type of moisture, whether it's inspiration or an epiphany or support that will bring you right back. So
Mhm.
that particular read, I really enjoyed Jericho Rose. I wrote it pretty quickly.
Amazing.
Another one, we talked about organizational development. My big work there is The Value Wave, which is the name of my company.
Mhm.
It's a 400-page read on specific from soup to nuts in regards to building an organization and keeping it in play. And then how do you move forward from there from a strategic planning perspective?
Mhm.
Now, here's the question as far as my new book,
Mhm.
because I took a long break in regards to writing.
Yeah.
But think about what you think about is about, from a scientific perspective, metacognition. But it's about that very thing. Every day we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day. But out of that 60 to 80,000 thoughts, 90% of them are about the past, which means we're making decisions based on the past and not today.
Mhm.
But how do you capture the 10% that will move you forward?
Mhm.
And so what is that about? So I go into thoughts create choices, choices create decisions, which
Mhm.
create behavior,
Yeah.
experiences, and emotions, as I
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's about, we're either creating, consuming, or criticizing.
Mhm.
So what are we doing in our day to day? Are we creating something? Are we consuming something? Are we criticizing? And so this cycle of that, and the whole point of this, and the synopsis of this, is because we have so much information and challenges coming at us,
Mhm.
what do we do? How do we handle it? What is that? And it's just a matter of sitting within ourselves
Mhm.
and recognizing we are a vibrant tool to handle any situation. We're doers. We're built
Mhm.
to do. That's what we are. We
Amazing.
do. So
Amazing.
that's where we are. So it allows you to go from fight, flight, or flow to being preemptive in regards to how you're moving forward. I know there's a lot of, I mean, to the many books, there's no end. But this is my singular perspective on thinking about where you are from a meditative perspective, and then an action plan to handle it. And interesting enough, this is also a process to help people understand newer technologies like AI
Yeah.
to help them move forward and stay relevant.
Amazing. And I love the title of your book. But wait, on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own incredible journey. Thank you for speaking to me about so many different aspects of organizational development and process improvement. I loved your example of the gas gauge in an organization where you gave some very interesting examples of what are the components of the gas gauge in an organization. Thank you also for speaking to me about your books. And I wish you lots of success about your forthcoming book. Think about what you think about. I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to go and check out Wade Younger's book. I'm going to look out for it myself. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.